We are coming out of Saturday night's main event. It is a winter wonderland here on a Monday night. This was the fallout from what we saw on NBC on Saturday night, where we saw the World Heavyweight Champion Gunther defend the World Heavyweight Championship against Damian Priest and Finn Balor. Gunther was not on the show tonight, but Finn Balor was. And Finn Balor did not have a very good night since he lost on Saturday. So tonight, he defended the World Tag Team titles with JD McDonough in a rematch against the War Raiders. And Finn Balor's week just went from bad to worse because he was the recipient of a war machine. And just like that, we have brand new World Tag Team champions. At long last, our nightmare is over. Almost 6 months. And these men defended the tag team titles 3 times. 3 times in 6 months. I think it's safe to say that we were overdue for a title change here, because it's just been absolutely ridiculous that these guys have been holding on to these titles and doing nothing with them. So as one reign of terror ends, I certainly hope that another one isn't about to begin, because just because we have new tag team champions does not mean that all of a sudden we're going to have this great kind of rebirth here of the tag team division on Raw. I'm not sure it's going to be that much better as I look at the competition that exists right now on Monday nights for the War Raiders. But going to enjoy the moment because it was a nice moment, a fun moment, and a moment where they got a very good reaction. Everybody was very happy in Boston tonight to see them win the tag team titles, and made for a cool moment. Got a little pyro celebration there at the very end, and especially for Ivar. Now, both of these guys have been through hell physically. I mean, they've had serious surgeries. Eric missed. My God, how long did he miss, right? That's why Ivar got that big singles push earlier this year. Eric was gone for a very long time. Then Ivar got hurt. And so now they're healthy again and they're back. But Ivar in particular, he's a Massachusetts native. So being able to win the titles in Boston, and he got the winning fall on the match, was probably extra special for him. I mean, this is a guy who, he trained Kofi Kingston, okay? He has trained Mercedes Moné and, you know, had a hand in training a whole bunch of other people. Tommaso Ciampa, just to name a few. So he's got deep ties to that area. And so for him to get the winning fall in that city, in that match tonight, was very cool. That now leaves the Judgment Day with 1 championship. That's it. That's all they have left now, because they've lost the tag team titles. Raquel Rodriguez, she squandered her opportunity in the Intercontinental Title tournament tonight. Got bounced out of the first round. That leaves Liv Morgan. She is now the only champion left in the Judgment Day, and she will not be a champion for that much longer. I can assure you of that. It's a matter of weeks. And then the Judgment Day will be completely devoid of all their gold. But, you know, I mentioned Kofi Kingston a moment ago, and this being Boston. Boston is the hometown of Kofi Kingston, believe it or not. I know, right? I mean, he showed up years ago with a Jamaican accent. I don't know what happened to it. But he's a Boston guy. Even though they were in Boston tonight, not a doubt in my mind that had he gone out there in front of the live crowd and you put a mic in his hand, he would have been booed out of the building the way that the New Day were last week. That was the best moment on Raw last week. In fact, the New Day have been responsible for 3 straight weeks, the best moments on Monday Night Raw. So I was interested to see what they were going to have them doing tonight, right? Kofi's back home. What kind of reaction is he going to get from the hometown faithful? And I was left disappointed because they never even had the chance to go out in front of the live crowd. They had a couple of backstage segments. They got kicked out of the locker room, and that was it. So the New Day streak comes to an end at 3, unfortunately, because they've become now a must-see part of the show, and they didn't really have a whole lot for them to do tonight. And that was disappointing. But the big news coming out of tonight's show is that the match is official. The match was first reported, I believe it was Chris Featherstone of Sportskeeda, and then confirmed by Mike Johnson, a PW Insider. This was at least a week ago, a little less maybe, that on January 6th, on the very first episode of Raw on Netflix, that it was going to be CM Punk one-on-one with Seth Rollins. They were not going to wait until WrestleMania to do at least the first match. and we were going to get it on Netflix in LA on January 6th. And it was confirmed tonight. We had a pull-apart brawl between the two of them. Adam Pearce later in the show made it official. CM Punk one-on-one with Seth Rollins. And that's huge. But it's about more than just one match because they are pouring everything into this Netflix debut. It is all hands on deck. It is all roads now lead to January 6th. Now that Saturday night's main event is out of the way, no more PLEs until the Royal Rumble. It's all about January 6th. And you look at the card now as it begins to take shape. CM Punk against Seth Rollins, which should be the main event on that show. But wait a minute now. We have Roman Reigns. Holy shit. Roman Reigns is going to wrestle a match on Raw? Are you fucking kidding me? Yep. He's got a tribal combat match with Solo Sikoa that was confirmed on SmackDown last Friday. That's 2 huge matches on that Netflix show. What else did they do tonight? They didn't confirm a date. They didn't confirm a location or a time. But they did make it very clear, Rhea Ripley did, that she is now the number 1 contender for the Women's World Championship. Didn't say when, but has to be January 6th. It's so perfect. You do a title change on that show. If no other title is going to change hands or be defended that night, that's the one. So I think that match is another match you could probably pencil in right now for January 6th. So you got Punk and Rollins, you got Roman and Solo, you got Rhea and Liv, you got the return of John Cena, who's kicking off his retirement year on that first Raw on Netflix in LA. So you got John Cena on the show. Very likely we're going to have the finals of this tournament to crown the first ever women's Intercontinental Champion. It all lines up. I'm expecting the finals to take place on that show. So as they did on Saturday with Chelsea Green making history, becoming the first U.S. champion, make history that night. Very likely the first women's Intercontinental Champion will be crowned. And there could be something else. Because in the middle of this show tonight, there was a tease. Little vignette. Nothing was said. They didn't give you a whole lot. But it did include this image here. And it kind of flashed a few times. It wasn't a static image, but it's a 0. I guess is that the European 0? It's a 0 with the line through it, but it's a 0. And then after that, they showed the preview for Raw coming to Netflix on January 6th. So it seems to be a tease for something on that first Netflix show. And my thought was the same as many of you, because I see people saying the exact same thing. First thing you think of, okay, well, who could this be for, right? You think of NXT, well, no, there's nobody really, obvious from there. So who could they be bringing in? Gee, I wonder. Who has it as part of his trademark catchphrase? No fear, zero fear, Cero Miedo. Gee, I wonder who. Who just became a free agent? Who just wished farewell to AAA and cut a farewell promo in AAA last week? All roads seem to lead to Netflix and the possible Raw debut in a few weeks of one Penta. And now I'm going to be very disappointed, honestly, if it turned out to be anybody else. But that was my first thought as well. I think that on that show, we are going to get the debut of Penta. And my God, I mean, you can't think of a bigger place, right? Everything is being based around this show, the promotion, it's hype, the hype train, it's unbelievable. And so if you're Penta, and if that's who it is, I mean, you can't ask for a bigger platform than that. But I think that's what it's for. Figured he was on his way in anyway, but why not? Why not on January 6th? So that show is loaded, officially and unofficially. All the things that I just listed, and that's not even everything. They're going to add more, right? We're going to have even more. I'd be shocked if we didn't have at least one other championship match on the show outside of Rhea and Liv. And I guess the finals of the tournament. But the other thing about Raw on Netflix, and I'll let you guys chime in with your thoughts on this, but we have the new logo, right? With a new era of Raw, we have a new logo, which makes me wonder if we'll have a new song and a new set. I mean, that would kind of be nice, but this is the new logo for Raw, starting on January 6th, the Netflix era. I like it. I like it. I think it's sleek. I think it's simple. It's a hell of a lot better than the SmackDown, or should I say SmackSound logo. You put the two of them next to each other, Raw wins easily. So I like it. A logo that actually doesn't disgust me. What more can you ask for? But we're not there yet. We're not on Netflix yet. Got a few more weeks on USA. This is your Monday Night Raw review. It is December 16th, 2024. I am the Solomonster. Just feels like the holidays, doesn't it? We got the snow, we got the lights, right? I don't have any gifts. I mean, sure, I'll accept gifts, but I don't have any gifts laying around here. But like and subscribe. We've picked up a bunch of new subscribers this week as we climb closer to 83,000. I thank you for that. And thank you for the feedback, by the way, on the new thumbnails that I've rolled out on the video clips. It's much appreciated. I'm glad you enjoy it. Super chats are open, and they are working this time.
Off is a direction you can fuck.
Well, that's Matt. Very upset about the other night, telling me what I can do. Yes, we had no messages appearing on screen on Saturday, but we got it all worked out. Not only did we get it all worked out, we got it worked out at the end of the stream on Saturday. The very fucking end. They started showing up. So anyway, no issues with those tonight. Get them on in. I'll read your messages and we'll hang out a little bit later on here in the stream. We have a goal going as well for an extra round to Be the Booker. Should we, of course, get the first round to Be the Booker. But I need you to hit that like button first. CM Punk was out to kick off the show tonight. He wasn't there on Well, he was there on Saturday. He wasn't on camera. But even though he wasn't booked, flew himself into New York because he wanted to hang out with some of the legends who were there. So he was taking pictures with Greg Valentine. He was taking pictures with Tito Santana, or as Jesse Ventura used to call him, Chico Santana. He was hanging out with Jimmy Hart, the Ageless Wonder, and Jesse, of course. Punk was he was marking out, but he was on the show tonight. And he came to the ring and he said that he was in a bit of a bad mood. No. CM Punk in a bad mood? I don't believe you. So he was in a bad mood, he said, and it's because he told Seth Rollins that he doesn't think about him at all, even though Seth seems to do a lot of thinking about him. But he's mad because Seth is right. Whatever this thing is between them, it's only a matter of time before they lock up here in the ring. He's also upset because something he enjoys doing, coming out here and talking to the fans, is always going to be overshadowed when that stupid music hits. And he's going to come tiptoeing out here, dressed up like Liberace. And then before, to cut off the people who were going to be very upset by him making that comment, he said, no, I love Liberace. Even though he's been dead for decades. I love Liberace. I'm just saying, he comes out here and he's all dressed up like him. And he wears Elton John sunglasses. Just because he doesn't make him Elton John. And just because he grew up idolizing him, Rollins did, grew up idolizing Punk, that does not make him CM Punk. Seth said that he ghosted him. And he said, it's true. But he's not here to litigate the past. He's looking to the future. Seth wants to paint this picture that he's bad. So sure, he'll be the bad guy in this situation. And that's because there's no such thing as a bad student, just bad teachers. Says Seth Rollins is CM Punk's failure. So that 16-year-old kid who came to him and asked him to train him, he's ready. He's ready to do that again. He's ready to give him that wrestling lesson that he asked for years ago for free. The bad news is that Seth is the last guy who did that was Drew McIntyre. So ask yourself, are you tougher than Drew McIntyre? You might think you are. Boston knows that you're not. And one thing he knows, there's not enough staples in the world to put you back together when I'm done with you. So he was waiting for Rollins to come out. There's no Seth Rollins. There's no stupid song. There's no, like a fucking ghost. Nope, none of that. But what he does here is the crowd chanting CM Punk because he got them to chant his name. So he's trying to piss off Seth Rollins. And that did the trick. because all of a sudden we hear Seth's voice. We don't see him anywhere. He's not coming down the aisle or anything. We don't see him, but we could hear him. He's also chanting CM Punk. And he appeared all the way up in the crowd. Rollins said he thought that if he came out this way, all the way up there, and he looked down and he saw Punk the way that all these people see him, maybe it would give him some perspective. But he said, nah, even from all the way up here, you're still an asshole. Punk said while he's overjoyed he didn't come out here with a stupid song, for the first time he's coming out from the right spot because he belongs in the crowd with the rest of the CM Punk fans. And Rollins said, hey, that doesn't embarrass me. I'm a fan. I've always been a fan. I always will be. I love this place. And when you left, I made this place stronger than it's ever been. If anybody should be embarrassed, it's Punk, because this fan has more WrestleMania main events than you ever will. And that's a fact, Phil. So with that, CM Punk left the ring. He met Rollins in the crowd, and they started slugging it out until officials broke them up. Adam Pearce was out there too, also trying to break them up. And at first, Punk broke free, attacked Rollins. Then Rollins broke free and he attacked Punk. Then they both ended up in the ring and they start throwing shots at each other in there. Then they got separated. So they were escorting Punk out through the crowd. So what Rollins did is he broke free. He jumped over the barricade and he kind of went around into the crowd and went around. And Punk, I guess, did the same thing. And they met in the crowd on that lower level in the crowd. And they started going at it again until they finally got separated. This was fun. This was fun. This sets the stage before they even made it official later in the show. Obviously, this was setting the stage for a match very soon. So you had both of them, 50-50 here. One would break free and go after the other guy. Then the other guy would break free and go after, the other person. So pretty straightforward stuff, but I thought this was fun. The fans were into it. They're not giving any kind of a sense that they're leaning one way or the other as far as who the heel is and who the babyface is here. They're letting the fans decide. There are fans that are going to side with Punk. I think the majority of them because they like CM Punk. And then there are fans who are going to side with Seth Rollins because they like Rollins. Or maybe they like his song more than they like him. I don't know. But for now, anyway, they're letting the fans choose sides, which, is the way to go. And then I think depending on what happens in the match on January 6th, whether there's a full-on turn coming out of the match, we could have something like that. And if there is, again, it's going to be Rollins. Like if there's going to, heading into WrestleMania, if there's going to end up being a clearly defined bad guy in this feud, it's going to be Seth Rollins. It's not going to be CM Punk. You may think CM Punk's a bad guy, but if there's going to end up being one clearly defined one, it's going to be Rollins. Right now, though, they're not showing their cards one way or the other. Backstage, in the Judgment Day locker room, Finn Balor wanted to know where they all were on Saturday night when he was out there, 2-on-1, wrestling for the World Heavyweight Championship, because we're supposed to be a team. Liv Morgan said, we believe in you, and we didn't think you needed our help. Plus, JD was busy focusing on the War Raiders and keeping the tag team titles like he was asked to do. And she's not trying to tell him what to do, but maybe you should be focused on the same thing because we're all banned from ringside for your match later tonight. She said Raquel is also focused on her Intercontinental Title tournament match later tonight. And then Raquel, in the cheesiest, most sarcastic way possible, says, that's right, because when you listen to Finn, you win. Right, which was Balor's little catchphrase that he coined a couple of weeks ago. So Liv wished the two of them luck in their tag team title match tonight. She says, you're going to kill it. And Balor had a look on his face like he was not very thrilled about this. Didn't appreciate being talked down to here. Oh, the snow has stopped. Look at this. The snow has stopped. Cold front has come through here in New York. Actually, the funny thing is, here in New York, it hasn't been cold enough to have snow, so we've had a shitload of rain, which is okay with me. I know it's not gonna last, but I'm totally fine with the rain instead of the snow for now. Anybody who drives I think, would say the same thing. If you don't drive, you may not care. If you drive, though, the last thing you want to be dealing with is snow. So backstage, we see an angry Seth Rollins walking. Adam Pearce is following him, and Pearce tells him, he's yelling various things at him. Obviously, Pearce is not happy. And Rollins tells him he wants the match with Punk. You got to make this happen. It has to end. I want the match with Punk. And Pearce basically says, let me do my job. Drew McIntyre confronts Seth Rollins after Pearce walks away. And McIntyre recalled Rollins once telling him that he needed to get over his issues with Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. McIntyre said it's not so easy when it's staring you in the face, is it? He brought up what Roman said on SmackDown last Friday. If you remember the pre-tape promo where Roman was on the boat dock with Paul Heyman. I don't know why, but that was an interesting setting, I guess, for a promo. Had the sun setting behind them. I guess he likes to go out on his boat at night. So he, referring to the promo from Friday, Roman made the comment that when he wins his Ulafala back, that the whole world will have no choice but to once again acknowledge him. And Drew says he and Rollins know that Roman is the same person that he always was, as are Sami Zayn and Jey Uso, and they all need to be taken out. Rollins said McIntyre thinks they have this common cause. He said he already took Roman out of power at WrestleMania. And you know who he had on his side to do it? Jey Uso and Sami Zayn. Rollins said he respects Sami. He said he respects Jey. As for McIntyre, the jury is still out on him. Then he said he's got to go do something that McIntyre could not do, and that's end CM Punk. And he walked off. Very interesting that they are, even teasing a possible alliance here between Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre, kind of a union over a common cause. Right now, Rollins is not interested, just like he wasn't interested in teaming with the Bloodline of War Games, right? He was adamant about that, and he didn't do it. Right now, he doesn't seem to have any interest in buddying up with or partnering up with Drew McIntyre for any reason. He might have a change of heart, though. If he loses that match to CM Punk on January 6th, they may bond. We may have a bonding situation between these two over their mutual hatred of CM Punk and the Bloodline. So that was kind of the little tease they gave you here. It's not anything that would happen in the next few weeks, but they did plant the idea that this could be something, right? Depending on how things go with Punk and Rollins in that first match, this could turn into something. I could eventually see someone like Kevin Owens aligning with these two. If they want to put together some kind of a loose faction of all the people that have been wronged by the Bloodline and members of the Bloodline, after his story with Cody is played out, I could see someone like Kevin Owens joining the cause. Because remember what Kevin Owens said. He's not done with Sami Zayn. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. That comment he made in the car with Michael Cole a couple weeks ago. Oh, I'm going to deal with Sami. Not right now, but when the time is right. And Drew McIntyre here, again, talking about Sami Zayn. They all need to be taken out. Rollins, Owens, McIntyre. Could we see something brewing here for the future? It's just food for thought. We had Bron Breakker taking on Ludwig Kaiser for the Intercontinental Championship. The new Shield, says the Bash. Yes, the new Shield. Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, and Kevin Owens. Only if they wear the tactical vests. Kevin Owens coming out in a tactical vest would just be funny to me. I don't know why. After the show last week in the back, they showed footage of Bron Breakker being confronted by Ludwig Kaiser, and they had to be separated. Kaiser was like, no, I got no issues. I'll see you next week. And then he slapped him in the face. And he left. So here in this match, very early on, he did the same thing, where Kaiser just smacked Breakker in the face, and all that did was just piss him off, and he got demolished. And then Breakker gets up, and he says, I don't understand. why everybody tries the slapping crap. Like, he was all pissed off. Like, that's a valid question. That is a valid question. This is not power slap. It's pro wrestling. This is not the diva era. I agree with Bron Breakker. Now we got to cut that on the chops in wrestling, too. That's the next thing. So Kaiser targeted Breakker's left arm. Kaiser went for a suplex. Breakker blocked it and then suplexed him. He rolled out to the floor. Breakker then went to the apron, and he hit a diving clothesline that sent both men tumbling over the announce desk. Back inside, Kaiser wrenched Breakker's arm and drove him shoulder down into the mat. And that whole assault continued into the second commercial break. Bron still managed to, a few minutes later, hit his top rope Frankensteiner. Took down Kaiser for 2. Kaiser then avoided a spear and hit a Kaiser roll. I will never not smile when I see that. Hit the Kaiser roll. That only got him a 2 count, though. Then it was right back to the bad arm. He applied a hammerlock. Breakker, though, broke free, and then he ran himself into the middle turnbuckle after Kaiser moved out of the way. So Bron he rolled out of the ring, and he's seated next to the ring steps outside. And now he's in prime position because we've seen Ludwig Kaiser do this before, where he'll do the run around the ring, and he did that to Kofi Kingston. I think that was the first time he did that. It was like a big injury angle earlier in the year. So Bron's outside, and Kaiser sees this, and he sees an opportunity, so he gets out of the ring, and he does his run around the ring, but when he comes on the other side, there's no Bron Breakker. He's missing. Kaiser turns around, and Bron catches him. He's charging in with a leaping shoulder tackle, and he takes down Kaiser. Back inside, the straps come down. Bron's still selling the bad arm. He hits the ropes a few times, builds up some speed, catches Kaiser with a super spear, and he pins him to retain the title. This was a good match. This was not as good as the triple threat match that they were part of at Survivor Series with Sheamus. They were 2/3 of that match. That was an excellent match. That's one of the best WWE matches all year, frankly. This was not that, but I thought it was a good match, even though I think it's ridiculous that this match got almost double the amount of time that the longest match got on Saturday night's main event. I think the main event on Saturday got 12 minutes. This got like 18 or 19 minutes. I mean, that's pretty messed up. And they were both 2 hours. Like Raw's 2 hours. So was Saturday night's main event. And this was longer than any of the matches we had on that show by a lot. But what the match was here, they was just simple. Focusing on a body part and telling that story. And then the babyface, in this case the champion, makes the comeback at the end and wins the match. Bron was sure to sell the injury no matter what he was doing, and obviously he made a comeback and he won, but even when the match was over, he was still selling the arm. It was a classic come from behind babyface win, and that's what he was in this match. Clearly he was positioned as the babyface here. He seems to be slotted in right now as a babyface. There was no turn, but just the fans have been cheering for him. They cheer his offense because it's explosive and it's fun. And the guy's an ass kicker, right? You don't have a lot of people like that on the roster, right? Gunther is an ass kicker. Sheamus is an ass kicker. I'd throw McIntyre in there too. And then you got Bron Breakker. And I mean, how many more guys like that are there really? Right? There's not a lot. I don't look at Cody and go, oh, he's an ass kicker. Like, no. I mean, who else? Sami Zayn and Jey Uso. And I mean, these guys are over, but they're not ass kickers. So, of course, people are going to cheer for that. It's just he's organically gotten himself over. And they bark, right, when he does the barking noise. So it makes sense. And they're embracing it, at least for the time being. It does make me wonder, though, like if that was the role that he was slotted to be in here going forward, had Bronson Reed not gotten hurt, as I was thinking, like he's going to miss WrestleMania next year. And, I was thinking, what would he have been doing at WrestleMania? Maybe the play was Braun Strowman. Bronson Reed. We got Bron Breakker, Bronson Reed, and Braun Strowman. Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed. Could that have been the match? I mean, I'm still holding out hope for Sheamus, but could that have been the match at WrestleMania? And with Breakker as the babyface, Reed as the clearly defined heel, was that going to be his moment to win the championship? We'll never know. But that's the role they have him in right now. Now, it does beg the question, though. I'll put this out there. We're heading into Royal Rumble season. Now he is the Intercontinental Champion, and he would probably have to lose it before then, but does that put Bron Breakker in play as a top 3 choice for men's Royal Rumble winner? If he's going to be in the babyface role, and we're looking at WrestleMania, and let's say we're not looking at Gunther and John Cena for the World Heavyweight Championship with Cena going after number 17, because you don't have to do that at WrestleMania. What about Gunther and Bron Breakker? They teased it. It was a very brief tease, but, a couple months ago, whatever it was that backstage segment where Breakker confronted Gunther and he looked at the title and they planted that seed. Could Bron Breakker be, kind of a fresh face to win the Royal Rumble and go on to challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship, or is it too soon? I'm kind of torn on this because I think you could do the match, but it does feel too soon for that. He could get the match and lose. I just put that out there because there's been some debate about what Gunther does at WrestleMania next year. I don't think we should leave Bron Breakker out of the conversation if he's a babyface. Now we go to the back. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, they arrived at the arena. They're rolling their luggage through the hallway. They went to go enter the locker room, and Rey Mysterio came walking out at the moment they went to walk in, and he shut the door behind him, and he stopped them. He blocked them from entering the locker room. He said the locker room doesn't want them in there. I thought, oh shit, they're giving them the Miz treatment when he got kicked out of the locker room by Benoit for eating a piece of chicken. They have been Miz'd. Kofi said, it's bad enough the audience is treating us like this, but now you too? After 10 years of sharing a locker room with everybody, nobody has our back? Says Ray's supposed to be a locker room leader. Do something about this. And Ray said, cross the line with Big E. Said, you could go find somewhere else to change. And Xavier Woods said, that's fine, because we don't want to share a locker room with you guys anyway. So they kept on their way. They have been booted from the locker room. Yeah, ate chicken over his bag. That's the story that Miz tells in his documentary. I don't think he actually names Benoit for obvious reasons, but that's supposedly who it was. That story, it always sounded to me like he wasn't eating it over someone's bag. I mean, maybe it was a faux pas for him to be eating in there. I don't know. He was the new guy, and he was being hazed. He was being broken in. And they kicked him out of the locker room, and he had a dress in the janitor's closet in various places for, what was it, like a year? It was a long time before they let him back into the locker room. It just sounds like a shitty thing to do to somebody. But I remember him telling that story. He's like, oh my God, like he's looking around like, no, I wasn't. And they're like, no, oh my God. Then the story spread. Everybody's coming in like, oh, can't believe what you did. God, what a mind fuck. What a mind fuck that locker room must have been. With some of those just absolutely batshit crazy people they had in that locker room. So after a break, they came back with highlights of the WWE Championship match from Saturday night's main event with Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. And you just know that Jesse Ventura is like, if you're going to use my voice on this, you could hear his voice in some of the highlights. Like, if you're going to use my voice on this episode of Raw and this ends up on a DVD, I better see my royalties. Or I'll see you in court. The first man, actually, I can't say he was the first man, but he was one of the first men to beat Vince McMahon in court. If he wasn't the first, Jerry Lawler was. I think Lawler actually might have been the first, but Jesse was the second one. Because there was a whole thing many years ago in the 80s where when WWE brought Harley Race into Tennessee, into Memphis for the first time, they called him the King of Wrestling. And Lawler was the King of Wrestling. And I think he sued them. and he won. So they couldn't use that moniker in that state going forward. And I wonder if that's part of the reason, honestly, why Vince hired him years later, because he kind of respected him, that he actually got beat in court by Lawler. So anyway, in the highlights here, they included footage of the post-show angle that did not air on TV, with Kevin Owens attacking Cody from behind and then giving him a package pile driver and then stealing the Winged Eagle Championship. So the injury update on Cody is that he has an axial compression of the cervical spine. X-rays were negative for any fractures, and he is back home resting. They also boasted about how the post-show angle got them 45 million views across all social media platforms. What did I tell you in the review? What did I tell you on the podcast this weekend? The only reason that they did it the way they did it is for the social media engagement. They live for those engagement numbers. And you're going to see more angles like this in the future going forward, because it works. But it was funny to me that they had at one point a still shot on screen, like a did you know? And it was an image of Cody Rhodes in a neck brace strapped to a gurney. And they have this did you know fact on the screen. He's being carried out after this serious injury angle. Their champion has been damn near crippled. And we have Joe Tessitore on commentary just, celebrating this great achievement of look at all the views that it got as we look at Cody there strapped to a board, life and death. Like, I just thought that was funny. So they aired a War Raiders video to hype up the main event tonight. Eric and Ivar spoke about the major surgeries that each of them have gone through. Eric added that he just held his newborn. He and Valhalla, Sarah Logan, they just had a new kid a few weeks ago. He just got to hold his new son. Ivar said the Judgment Day tried to end their careers. And Eric said that his son has to know that all of the pain and the damage that was inflicted upon them over all these years, that it was all worth it. And the only way they can prove that is to bring home the tag team titles. So a nice little bit of hype there for the main event, putting a personal flair to it, bringing his family into it. I mean, as soon as they announced the match last week, I knew the titles were changing hands, but as the night went on, it became more and more obvious that for Finn Balor's story arc, everything is going to begin falling and crumbling down around him. And the first step was him losing on Saturday. The next step was him losing tonight. And the next step is him getting his ass fucking kicked out of the Judgment Day. After a break, Kathy Kelly was in the back with the Raw general manager, Adam Pearce, asking if he can confirm any matches for their Netflix debut beyond the Tribal Combat match that was already announced on Friday. He said, as a matter of fact, he can, and he made it official. He announced that on January 6th, on Netflix, it will be CM Punk one-on-one against Seth Rollins. So that was the official announcement of that match. Liv Morgan, Dominic Mysterio, and Raquel Rodriguez made their way out to the ring ahead of Raquel's tournament match. But first, we got a promo from Liv Morgan. She used the megaphone to announce herself as the greatest women's world champion ever. Does that make the first time since the golden age of WWE with Jimmy Hart that we had two straight shows with two different people using a megaphone on the show? Because Jimmy had the megaphone on Saturday, didn't he? When they showed him in the front row. I mean, I don't think he goes anywhere without it. Tonight we had Liv Morgan on the megaphone. Says she's the greatest women's world champion ever. She said 2024 was the year of Monday Night Morgan. Said they were just getting started. She said there were a lot of historic changes coming to WWE in 2025, and there was nobody better to lead this company than her. Rhea Ripley interrupted, as she did on Saturday after her win over Io Sky. Rhea comes down to the ring. She said that this has gone on long enough. Yeah, no shit. She says it's time to settle it. She said that Adam Pearce has officially named her the number one contender for the Women's World Championship, which seemed obvious after she pinned Liv in War Games. She told Liv that she will be the new Women's World Champion, and all that she will be left with is her little chicken tender slut. And she looked straight at Dominic. Why do they constantly make fun of Dominic liking chicken tenders? Chicken tenders are awesome. I'm with him. Does that make me a slut? You know, we used to have somebody in these chats with us every week called French Fry Slut. I like those too. Give me French fries and chicken tenders. I'll be on cloud 9. In fact, one of these days, maybe me and Dom, maybe we can go, we'll go grab some chicken tenders and French fries somewhere. He can tell me all about his conquests, since he seems to be such a ladies' man. He can share his secrets with me. Maybe it's the mustache, but he can share all of his secrets. No date announced for the match, but you have to imagine Netflix, January 6th, that's going to be the date. Jackie Redmond, meanwhile, caught up with Seth Rollins in the back as it looked like he was leaving the building and informed him that the match is official. You know, Adam Pearce has made the match official for January 6th. It will be him against CM Punk. As she was explaining this to him, in the background, you could see kind of far off Drew McIntyre emerged, and he begins to walk very quickly towards Seth as if he is trying to sneak up on him to attack him. But before he can, he gets cut off because Sami Zayn shows up. And Sami Zayn attacks McIntyre, and the two of them ended up having to be separated by officials. They had to pull apart.
I am the
Shut the fuck up. Fuck that tree. Hey, Matt. Thank you for the learning tree. Sitting under the learning tree here on a Monday night. Thank you, brother. So they get separated by officials. We didn't see Rollins again. He left, I guess. He disappeared. But it looks like Drew did not take kindly to that little dig at the end earlier in his conversation where Rollins said, I'm about to go do the one thing you couldn't do, which is take care of CM Punk. Looks like he was looking for some revenge for that smart remark. But you know what? He's got plausible deniability here because he can't prove that he was going to attack Rollins. Maybe he just forgot to tell him something, and he was sneaking up real quickly before he left the building to tell him, before he forgot what it is that he wanted to say. Right? He could just deny it and say, look, I didn't have a weapon in my hand. You don't know I was going to attack you. Even though Wade Barrett on commentary admitted, yeah, he was about to attack him. But he could deny it. Pretty clear he was going to, though.
With a tear in my eye.
Uffman. Thank you for the 1992 super chat. Aren't you glad they're working tonight? Backstage, we had The Miz with Paul Ellering and AOP. And Miz is telling all three of them, you don't need me anymore. Because they beat the Wyatt Six last week. So, like, it's it. It's over. Right? Now he can break free. He goes, you guys don't need me anymore. Karrion Kross and Scarlett then showed up. And look, because Miz was about to leave, and Kross is like, where do you think you're going? And he tried to make his case for why they should go their separate ways. Kross said, it's not over until I say it's over. He said, you know, we've been reacting this whole time to the Wyatt Six. So I think it's time that we need to make the first strike. We need to be proactive instead of reactive, basically. Kross asked if Miz remembered who it was who kidnapped and tortured him. It was Dexter Lumis. He said, well, Miz, you're going to go to Adam Pearce and you're going to let him know that you want a match next week with Dexter Lumis. And he said, Miz has won 22 titles in his career, right? You got this. And Miz reluctantly said, okay, I'm going to go find Adam Pearce. Off he went, and then I think it was Razar asked Kross, you really think Miz can take Lumis? Kross said, I don't know, but we're going to keep testing the Wyatts. He said, Miz would learn the lesson that when you make a deal with the devil, you don't run out on him. And it was a little weird because he was looking at Paul Ellering when he said this, and then Ellering had a look on his face like maybe he was a little alarmed. So I don't know if that was aimed at Ellering. I don't know if they're planning to write him off television. It's not like he does much. He actually spoke, by the way, in this segment. he mentioned to Miz how like he basically has saved Miz twice now. So like you owe us. And I think those are the most words he has ever said on this show since he came back to the company. But if they were going to write him off, like it's understandable. It's not a huge loss because they don't do anything with him. You know, he's older and it's not like he's taking a ton of bumps. I mean, he took the mandible claw from Uncle Howdy all those weeks ago, but I don't know. That was a weird moment there. I don't know if that means something or if I read that wrong, but he was definitely looking at Ellering, and Ellering had a bit of a weird reaction to that. We had Raquel Rodriguez, Zoey Stark, and Kayden Carter. First round triple threat match in the Women's Intercontinental Championship Tournament. Carter hit a cool-looking tornado-esque dive out through the ropes onto both opponents. That would be the only cool thing we saw in this match. This was not a very good match. Raquel later on was setting up for a Tejana bomb on Carter. Stark, though, hit a missile drop kick off the top to break it up. Stark then finished off Kayden Carter with a sloppy-looking Z360 and didn't, try to redo the move or do another move. She just hit her with it and then covered her and pinned her. And Zoey Stark advances. Zoey Stark advancing in the tournament is not a surprise. I think I said she was my pick to advance because, you've got this Pure Fusion collective, which is just such a dead faction. And Sonya Deville was not in this tournament. Shayna Baszler was, and she got bounced. So for Zoey Stark to go in there and also lose, I mean, you may as well just disband the entire faction. If both of them get bounced out of the opening round, you needed at least one of them to move on to the semifinals. So it was either going to be Raquel moving on or it was going to be Zoey, and I figured it had to be Zoey because just for the sake of their group. Not that they look great already, but I mean, come on, that's just giving up on them if you do that. So her winning made sense, but that was a terrible way to end the match. It just looked like shit, and I don't know. I'm not sure if she would have just tried to redo the move. It would have been any better, honestly. It's kind of a clunky move anyway to do, so might be for the better. She just left well enough alone and said, whatever, let's just get the hell out of here. But yeah, this was not good. But now here's where we are in this tournament. This is how things now look in the Intercontinental Championship Tournament. Dakota Kai has already moved on. She will now wrestle Zoey Stark in the semifinals. And I've been predicting Dakota is going to be moving on to the finals. On the other side, we have Lyra Valkyria has already qualified. She will meet the winner of the match next week between Alba Fire, Kairi Sane, and Natalya. Or will it be Kairi Sane? I'm guessing not, because after the break, Zoey and the other members of KFC or PFC, whatever, were seen walking away from Kairi in the back, who was on the ground screaming in agony after they trapped her, I think it was her arm. Was it her arm or her leg? I think it was her arm, underneath one of those giant equipment cases. And that does not seem to bode very well for Kairi Sane being in that match next week. Now, they are taping next week's show tonight for the holidays. They're taping ahead, so it'll be a taped show next week. I have not seen the spoilers. I don't know what else they're doing on the show. Just logic would dictate. Dakota and Io Sky were on scene to help Kairi Sane. Dakota's already in the tournament. Io is not. Io just lost to Liv Morgan, so I don't know what's next for her. It would make sense that if they need a substitute, Io Sky steps in and subs for Kairi. Thing is, if you put Io Sky in this tournament, especially coming off that loss on Saturday, how does she not win the entire thing? And I wouldn't mind it if you put the Intercontinental title on her, but I don't know that that's the plan. So to put her in the tournament and her not win, I don't agree with. So I don't know how they're going to work that out. My guess is it ends up being Io Sky. That's my guess. I was thinking about all these ideas in the U.S. title tournament when Jade Cargill got bounced, and I'm like, who could it be? Maybe it could be this person. It ends up being fucking Lash Legend. So I don't think it's going to be any great surprise, whoever it turns out to be. So I'm just assuming it's going to be Io Sky. But anyway, so yeah, here's the bracket. Let's just assume, whoever it is, Lyra still wins, and we end up with Lyra and Dakota in the finals. That's still what I'm leaning towards. And I'm still leaning towards a Lyra Valkyria title win. My guess is they do the finals on January 6th. In the back, R-Truth was meeting with Alpha Academy until he was confronted by an angry Pete Dunne, who overheard him once again refer to him as Butch. He didn't like that very much. He said, "Don't call me Butch." And Truth respond. Now, I will say, Truth on this show has just become, I'm sorry, I like Truth, but he's become a very tired act for me now when I see him on this show. You get him in small doses at least, so that's fine. But I'm kind of over it at this point with all the comedy stuff. But this made me laugh. This was good as far as a follow-up line. So he looks at Pete Dunne. He goes, "Butch, please." And I said, I hated myself for smiling at that. But I'm like, all right, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. So Dunne warned him, "Don't do it again or I'll break your face." Otis stepped in between them and Dunne left. And then Truth left also. In walks Chad Gable and American Made. And they approach Alpha Academy, and Gable calls them a clown show. "Clown show have ruined my academy." And he ran them all down. Otis finally just shouted at him, "Shut up." And Gable said it was time to kill his darlings here, and he's going to start. He was looking at Otis like he was going to start with him, and then he turned to Tozawa. So he's going to start with Tozawa. And I'm just thinking, how did we get back here? I thought we moved on beyond this. I thought Chad Gable was moving on to bigger and better things when they put this faction together. Fuck me, I guess, right? So we saw him on SmackDown last week. He was wrestling the WWE champion. He got beat. I mean, of course he got beat, but it's like, okay, well, he had a good match with Cody, but what does it mean? Where is it leading? Are they moving to SmackDown? Are they staying on Raw? They really should be moved to SmackDown. No mention here of whether or not they're officially moving in this transfer window that we have these next few weeks. Now we're back to the fucking Alpha Academy again with these guys. I don't understand it. I thought we were done here. It's just like this endless loop that it feels like Gable is in, like he's in this rut that he can't break out of here. They close the show with the World Tag Team Championship. Judgment Day defending their titles for only the third time in, I think, 5.5 months against the War Raiders. All the other members of the Judgment Day banned from ringside. Like, everything coming into this match was set up for a title change. The fact that they already beat the War Raiders once and this was their rematch, right? Probably the only rematch they were going to get. The promo earlier where they're relaying their past history and the struggles they've had, and Eric brings his family into it. All the Judgment Day members being banned from ringside. Balor already losing on Saturday. You knew that Priest might show up. He was going to be looking for revenge on Balor. How many times has Balor cost him the world championship, right? Like, everything just screamed at you. Title change. Eric ran the ropes for a dive early. Balor grabbed his foot, though, to stop him, allowing McDonough to hit him from behind. Balor and McDonough then brought Eric outside and ran him twice into the ring steps, which took us then into the final commercial break. After Ivar took a hot tag, while Joe Tessitore noted that he was a New England native, working here in Boston tonight, Balor cut off Ivar on the ropes, but Ivar was able to power slam McDonough from the middle rope all the way down to the mat. Only got a 2 count out of that. The Raiders set up for their War Machine finish, but Balor low-bridged Ivar and he went tumbling out to the floor. Balor then tagged in. He caught Eric with a sling blade. Followed that with a shotgun dropkick. McDonough hit a moonsault off the top onto Eric, and then Balor followed that with the coup de grace. Balor had the match won when Ivar returned just in the nick of time to break things up, and that got a positive reception from the crowd. McDonough went to ringside. He came back with a chair. Referee sees this, and he stops McDonough. That's the diversion. Now Balor, behind the referee's back, is going to go grab a chair of his own. And they shot this in a way where, it was very clever the way they did this, because he goes over by the timekeeper's area, reaches over and grabs a chair. And he goes to bring it back with him, but he can't. Somebody is holding the chair. We don't see who until the camera pans over and we see it's Damian Priest. And he's got a big smile on his face. Balor can't believe it. Priest then jerks the chair forward, which brings Balor ribs first into the barricade. In the ring, Ivar tagged in. Balor returned to the ring, and he fell victim to a War Machine, which is their finish. And Ivar, appropriately here in Boston, Ivar gets the pin on Finn Balor to win the tag team titles and end our national nightmare, our long national nightmare. The Judgment Day no longer World Tag Team Champions. The War Raiders get a big win. Nice pop from the crowd. And they shot Pyro off while Eric and Ivar held up the titles and they rushed off the air. Damian Priest outside had a big smile on his face. He was applauding the new champions. So again, Balor has not had a very good 48 hours. Things have not gone Finn Balor's way at all. And his future in the Judgment Day looks bleak. But his issues with Damian Priest remain, so they seem to be headed towards yet another match. Now, they've only had one match so far. They had the match of Bad Blood, and Priest won. And then Balor cost him the championship at Survivor Series. They were both part of a triple threat on Saturday. But this would be their second singles match if they do one. And when they do the match, maybe January 6th, could it have a special stipulation? What stipulation, if so, would that be? I don't know. Loser leaves Raw? I don't know. But they seem to be headed towards some kind of a stipulation match very soon. As far as the War Raiders, happy for them having that cool moment there at the end of the show, especially Ivar. But I'm going to reserve judgment on where this goes because I don't have a lot of high hopes right now that things are going to be that much better with them as the champions than we had with Balor and McDonough. They have, I think there are about 8 teams on that Raw roster, okay? The Judgment Day being one, and they may not be together for much longer. You got the War Raiders. You got the New Day. You've got AOP. You've got the Creeds. And you've got Alpha Academy, right? And I think that's it. So it's not a matter of like, oh, there's no teams. Like there are teams. But like how active is this division going to be, right? They've made strides on SmackDown with this whole issue with DIY and the Machine Guns and the Street Profits. And it's only 3 teams, but like they've created something in that mid-card with those teams. And we had the DIY heel turn a couple weeks ago. They need to do something like that on Raw. They have to get something going on this show. And it's not going to be in the next couple of weeks, right? We're at the end of the year. But when we start this new era on Netflix, it's got to be a new era for this tag team division as well. And you've got Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. They're newly minted heels on this show, okay? 2 of the biggest heels on this show. And it just seems right that they would be the ones to win those tag team titles from the War Raiders. When that happens, I mean, they just won them. But at some point when the time comes, I would see the New Day. They have to be first in line, I would think, as far as likely next champions, so they could build to that. But I'm reserving judgment until I see what Triple H has planned here, because enjoy the celebration tonight, but when we wake up tomorrow morning, we're kind of still in the same boat that we were in before. I'll believe it when I see it. But it was a good moment for them. Overall, I thought the show tonight was decent. It was not a great show. There were things on the show that I did like. The Punk and Rollins stuff was fun. The Breakker and Kaiser match I thought was good. It wasn't anything like, excellent, but it was a good match. It was just a good wrestling match. And thankfully they did the right thing and they got the belts off of the Judgment Day at the end of the show. Everything else was just kind of there. And right now, it is all about Netflix. That's it. They're pouring all of their resources into that first show on January 6th, and they have 5 billion reasons to do so. But now that Saturday night's main event is out of the way, all roads lead to Netflix. That's what it's all about. So you got a taped show next week. I don't know what the plan is for the week after that. If there's a first run show, we'll cover it live, but I don't remember what they did last year. If there was like a year in review, best of, I could see them doing that. Honestly, you may as well. I don't know why they wouldn't. What the hell else are you going to do? It's the week before Netflix. You think anything special is going to happen on December 30th? Like, nothing is going to happen on that show. You may as well just call it a week, give people the week off, and just, build for January 6th. So I don't know what their plans are for that show, but if they do a first run show, then there'll be a first run review. But that's where we're headed. All roads lead to January 6th. What did you think of Raw from Boston? From Boston. 76% thumbs up, 15% thumbs in the middle, and 8% thumbs down. Well, according to Jay, Raw is live on December 30th from Houston, Texas. So there you go. Okay. I'm surprised. There it is. There will be a first run Raw show. Oh my God. You thought all the ads for Netflix tonight were ridiculous. Wait until we get to December 30th. See, it's going to be a landmark night too, because that's going to be the final Raw on USA. The only time the show has been off USA were the 5 years when they moved over to TNN. And otherwise, this show has been on USA from its inception in 93. So it really is, I know SmackDown's on USA now. They're not done with USA and NXT's on there. But it is the end of an era in many ways, right? This has been Raw's home for the vast majority of its run. And Netflix is a whole new beast, right? We've never had a first run major wrestling show like this that's going to air live week to week, on a weekly basis on a streaming service like this. So, they've got those Christmas Day games coming up. They claim that all the issues have been worked out. All the kinks in the system have been worked out as far as buffering and things of that nature. We'll find out on Christmas Day. I don't expect there to be major issues, but could there be some kinks to work out after the first show? It's possible. But it's not like they haven't known about this for a year now. They've basically had a year to try to work out whatever issues there may be. So that'll be also very interesting. Do they have a smooth streaming experience on January 6th, or do you have a lot of very angry viewers who are looking forward to this show and can't watch it? But it really is. It's the start of something new. And, look, we're going to have commercials. There's going to be a lot that doesn't change. One thing I am looking forward to is there should be no reason for them anymore to have to mute the audio when the crowd chants something naughty. If the crowd chants "you're an asshole," right? If they chant something else they shouldn't be chanting, there should be no need for them to mute the audio. So that's one thing. That's one change I'm looking forward to on this show. Beyond that, I think it'll just be business as usual. And the length of the show, they have not specified whether the show is going to be 3 hours or not. The belief is that it's going to be 3 hours again. SmackDown also moving to 3 hours in January. But we don't know. Is it going to be exactly 3 hours? Are there going to be weeks where it's 2.5 hours? Are there going to be weeks where it's 3.5 hours? I could see that first show on January 6th being over 3 hours and treating it like a pay-per-view. Because it kind of is. Roman against Solo and Rollins against Punk, yeah, that's a pay-per-view basically. And then if they do Rhea and Liv, so they have not specified yet as far as the length of the show, but I would imagine we're headed back to 3 hours. 3 hours, oh boy, 3 hours. I've been enjoying these 2-hour shows, but I knew it wasn't going to last. I knew it wasn't going to last. Hey, Matt, thank you for that $22 super chat. He says, Kevin Owens did nothing wrong. Cody Rhodes deserves it. Being a little stiff there, don't you think? The man almost had his neck broken. What did he ever do to you? The Real CS earlier with the 999 says, I think if he was allowed to get physical, Triple H would take one package pile driver from Kevin Owens. The heat that he would get for taking out the boss would be nuclear. That would be awesome, but no, I don't think that even if he was healthy, Triple H would take a package pile driver. I do not think he would take that. No. Not at this stage of the game. Jeremy Watley says, hey Solo, are they going to do Punk against Rollins on Netflix? I hope not. That's a WrestleMania main event. Well, now you have your answer. I think it'll be the WrestleMania match still, but they're doing the first one on Netflix. Jerome Eugenio, early Christmas gift. The tag team title reign of the Judgment Day has ended. Yes, it has. Matt, thank you again for the $22 drop. Appreciate it very much. PW Shaw, or PD Shaw, 7 months of channel membership. I couldn't watch Raw, but I'm here for the review. Well, I got you covered. I watch Raw so you don't have to. Remember the first time I said that? That was when Raw sucked. First time I said that was probably 7 or 8 years ago. I used to say it all the time. I watch Raw so you don't have to. Isn't it nice to be able to watch Raw now, and on most weeks you don't regret having watched it? I wish I could say the same for some of the other shows that are on TV. Alex with the $10 super chat. Brother Solo, how stacked is too stacked for the January 6th show? No complaints. Already got 2 massive matches, a Penta debut. Well, we'll see. It seems that way, but don't get too cocky about it yet. And other surprises. Yeah, I think we'll see Becky Lynch on that show. Do you think we don't see Cody and KO until January 6th? I think we'll see KO before then. Cody, no. We should not see Cody before January 6th, at least. Kevin Owens, I think we'll see him in the Winged Eagle title. I think he's going to take it everywhere with him. Although SmackDown is taped this Friday, so the show was taped last Friday, but whatever they do with Owens, they could splice it into the show. I would expect that we at least get some kind of a video sent in from him, and he'll have the Winged Eagle belt with him. Mr. Rod, if there was a wrestling version of the Heisman Trophy, who from what promotion would you give it to, and why? Oh my God. Well, the Heisman goes to, well, it's kind of like Rookie of the Year, is it not? Wouldn't you consider it to kind of be like a Rookie of the Year honor? I don't know. Would it be appropriate to give it to somebody like Bron Breakker? I mean, he's new, but he's not that new.
It's the amazing Gunther. Jerry Lawler loves Gunther the Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
Oh my God, Fire Panda with a Gunther bomb. Our first and only bomb of the night, and it came from the Panda. Thoughts on Kevin Owens' title reign so far? I think he's had a fantastic run so far. It's like Fightful put a message up earlier and said, as of today, Chelsea Green is officially the longest reigning women's United States champion of all time. I said, put her in the Hall of Fame. It's a tremendous accomplishment. I think Kevin Owens has had a great run so far. I look forward to seeing what else he can do. All right, well, the Heisman winner is the college football MVP. That's why I said Rookie of the Year, because I'm looking at this as like main roster. Is there a younger talent, maybe new to the roster, who has turned a lot of eyes? That's why I mentioned Bron Breakker. I might go Bron Breakker on that, if we're talking WWE. Mr. Rod says, Finn and JD lost the titles about damn time. Took the words right out of my mouth. G. Barry Free. Coming from someone who loves AEW, do you think they can ever get back to how it felt 2 to 3 years ago? It just feels like the magic is gone, and I don't know how they get it back. I hate to say it, but I don't. I think that was a special time. I think they were still in their infancy, and they were growing, and WWE for so long was just such shit. Not reaching their full potential because they were being run by someone whose vision was tired and old and who had passed his prime. And he was basically holding the entire product creatively hostage. And the minute he disappeared and they had a new set of eyes and a new vision for the show, and they allowed people to flourish who were not previously allowed to flourish, and they gave people their name back who didn't have their name, LA Knight, and you just saw different people benefiting from the new regime. All of a sudden, people were like, oh, okay, maybe now it's safe to come back, right? All this talk about how AEW is the alternative, well, why was that so effective? Because people were looking for an alternative to the same old shit. And so WWE getting hot and Vince McMahon leaving was the worst thing. It was the best thing that could have happened to wrestling and for wrestling fans, but it was the worst thing that could have happened to Tony Khan, because it took away the one thing more than anything else that they were able to go and out there to the world and say, hey, we're not them. Or if you're not happy over there, come on over here, right? The water's warm over here. And there's a lot about AEW that is not the same as WWE and the way they work with other promotions and the Forbidden Door and stuff like that, but they can't call themselves the alternative in the same way. It doesn't resonate the same way anymore. And then it also comes at a time when creatively, their creative is just very spotty. I can't say it's all bad, but a lot of it isn't great. And it's just not connecting with people. The stories they choose to tell when they tell stories are not connecting with people. You don't have to take my word for it. Just look at the numbers. Do you know where we were a year ago at this time? Around the holiday season? Like during this time period, beginning of this year even, right? Dynamite was averaging between 800,000 and 900,000 viewers. And I'll bet that if you go back to that time period, there were weeks between 8 and 900K, and people probably even then were complaining like, oh, this is not great. Like it's down from where it used to be. Imagine if Dynamite was pulling those numbers now. Now they're averaging between 500,000 and 600,000. Where did all these people go? This is the question that some fans don't want to answer. Where did they go? Did they fall off the face of the earth? There's something about the product that they're not liking. The idea that they can kind of go back to the way things were 2 or 3 years ago and restore that feeling, I think they can be successful. I think they could try to claw back some people that have stopped watching the shows. If they can find that right story, if they could find that right attraction, they can claw some of those people back, but I don't think you're ever going to go back to that again. Like that feeling and that period and that energy and vibrancy, I don't think so. I think it's gone. And certainly as long as the same people or a person is the one in charge of running things, it's like the Vince McMahon thing. Nothing's going to change. So I wish I had a better answer for you, but no, I don't think so. That doesn't mean they can't be successful. It doesn't mean Dynamite can't be a good show, but you gotta, it's like all the people that were like, oh man, I wish NXT would go back to the black and gold. Right? Oh, I wish we can go back to the black and gold. They got to go back to the black and gold. The black and gold is dead. They're not going back. It was a time, it was a place, it was fun, it was great. It was great. The best period of NXT. It's over. It's never coming back. Paul Carpenter says, WWE Vault did a tribute to Luke Harper. Rest in peace. Yes, John Huber, Brody Lee. Hard to believe. Passed away, guys, 4 years ago now, right? 4 years ago. Was it on Christmas? It might have been on Christmas Day or the day after that he died, but Yeah, they put a whole playlist together on his WWE career. It's up on their Vault channel, which is very nice of them to do. NWO Matt. Like I said, Kevin Owens did nothing wrong, and Cody is guilty. 45 million views. Let Kevin Owens use the package pile driver more. You don't want to overuse it, though. You want to save it for special occasions. It's like Randy Orton. When he comes back, he should bring the punt back. He should punt Kevin Owens into the next dimension. But I don't want to see Randy Orton come back and use the punt every week or every month. Save it for special occasions. Uffman. With the way things are going, that first Raw on Netflix is going to be 6 hours long. Oh, don't say that. Please don't say that. Scott Woodford, Gable is your Groundhog Day. Gable's whole career feels like Groundhog Day. Tonga Loa Superfan with a $10 super chat. What role do you think WWE should have Tonga Loa be in when he retires? Commentator, GM, maybe even a producer to bring his wealth of in-ring knowledge to the rest of the roster. I think they should give him a talk show segment. We don't hear him cut promos enough. Be like talking with Tonga Loa or something like that, you know? That way he can actually be on the show. Arabian Night, why is Tony Khan petty and takes it personal if he knows somebody may leave when he signed countless people from WWE? He treats AEW like he's playing Fantasy My GM. Well, I mean, he books a lot of dream matches because that's what he wants to see. He thinks everybody else wants to see it. He's a fan, you know? He's a wrestling nerd like all of us. I got news for you. If you're listening to wrestling podcasts and you're watching wrestling podcasts, you're in the wrestling bubble, you're a wrestling nerd, whether you want to admit it or not. He more than most. You know, he's got a vast wrestling knowledge. He's been a fan for a very long time. And yes, he's got a lot of money. So he can sign people and he can book these dream matches that he thinks everybody wants to see, except clearly the general public doesn't really give a fuck about a lot of these supposed dream matches. But he can do what he wants because he's got the money to bring people in and book the matches he wants to book. Sometimes, yeah, it feels like an e-wrestling simulator. It really does. It feels like back in the day when I used to play TNM. Or, what was the other one? Was it EWR? God, I forgot some of the names. Jeremy Rose says, so no way Cody on Raw Netflix debut, right? Randy has been out for a while. If Cody is back in 2 weeks, that's just dumb. It would be 3 weeks, and yes, I think it would be very dumb. If he makes it back before Randy, then that would be kind of stupid. Jeremy also says, imagine the heat if KO pile drove Triple H. Well, you can imagine it, but that's about as close to it as you're ever going to get. Little Panda Baby Fire Panda. Thank you again for that 50 bomb. Jeremy Rose says, imagine KO invading Cody's house and taking Pharaoh. Well, now we're just getting crazy. He doesn't need Pharaoh. What does he need Cody's dog for? He's got Cody's eagle. All he needs is the eagle. He doesn't need a dog. Pharaoh is retired. Leave Pharaoh alone. The Colonel says, Corny's reviews of AEW are better than watching it. I'll bet. Probably. Tonga Loa Superfan with another 10. Is it possible that Tonga Loa could be groomed as the eventual replacement for Shawn Michaels as head of creative of NXT? Can you imagine Tonga Loa training the next generation of WWE? God, I don't even want to think about that. Chris AXC, did I hear there was a Penta tease tonight? Yes, there was. At least that's what people think it was. Whether it turns out to be Penta or not remains to be seen, but oh look, the snow is back. But here's what you missed. It was It was from a glitching promo they aired with this symbol. And so people think that this means Penta is coming in. That's the first thing I thought. I think we're going to get him on January 6th. And what a place. What a place for him to debut. You're going to have everybody in that crowd. They're going to be doing the hand gesture. It's going to be great, right? He's going to get over so easily. Like he's got a charisma about him where even if, again, English is not his first language, and so he's not going to go out there and cut long promos, and it might be best to end up putting someone with him, but he doesn't really necessarily need that. Like, he's going to get over because he's just a charismatic performer. And if they let him go, do what he does best, he can work his ass off, he will get over. I don't want to see him come in and be the next Dragon Lee, who gets a push out of the gate and then disappears and they don't do anything with him. Like, he's a star. They could make money with him. So I hope they have a good plan in place for him. And he doesn't need Rey Fenix to get over. When Phoenix is free, Rey Fenix will come in. The Lucha Bros will be a great success as a tag team in WWE. In the meantime, Penta will thrive on his own. If they play their cards right, he will be a star for them. So let's see where we are here on the likes. We are currently at 424 likes. So we didn't hit the other goal, but we did hit our main goal tonight. So thank you for that. Let's go ahead and be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
Hey, there's Ricochet. He doesn't look in good shape there. Laying on that car, thanks to Bron Breakker. Is he doing better now, or was he doing better when he was laying on top of that car? I'll let you decide. All right, Tag Team Be the Booker is how we're going to start things out here, as we usually do. We begin with the Dirty Heels from TNA. I want to say this is 2013, 2012, 2013. Austin Aries. The hell ever happened to him? And Bobby Roode, who were actually a great team. That was during the period where I was watching TNA again, and they were a great team. So it'll be the Dirty Heels taking on the Dream Team. Brutus Beefcake and Greg the Hammer Valentine. Boy, Greg Valentine has gotten more FaceTime here in the last 48 hours between Saturday night's main event and now here in Be the Booker. He's everywhere. He is everywhere. Look at this guy, the blonde bombshell over here. Greg Valentine. Got the sunglasses, he's got the open collar shirt, he's got the gold Rolex, he's got the ring. Look at all the bling. This guy was a player back in the day, and he got the gold. That gets a bell from me. Women's Be the Booker. Ah, yes. Jamie Hayter. Now we're cooking. Love me some Jamie Hayter. We gotta get her back into the mix. I'm talking the real mix in AEW. That's what we need to do. She's got to get back into that championship picture very soon. Jamie Hayter gonna go one-on-one. Oh no. Jamie Hayter against Nia Jax. You know, I don't know. Nia seems to me, the way they build her up as a monster, that she would work better with someone who was smaller than her. And when you put her in the ring with somebody who hits hard, I just don't think that's going to be a good combination. I could be wrong, though. It's entirely possible those two may actually end up having surprising chemistry together. So I could give it the buzzer, but I could be wrong. I don't think we're ever going to have the chance to probably find out. I'd love to see Jamie Hayter in WWE, though. All right, main event time. Here we go. Oh, no. Death by plastic bag. Sorry, this round is over. Be the Booker comes to an abrupt end. I don't believe it. We have been suffocated out of a main event here in Be the Booker. See, now, had we hit the other goal, we would have had a fallback round of Be the Booker, but we fell short of the goal. So, unfortunately, that spells the end. No main event. No main event. We end with Jamie Hayter against Nia Jax. That is our de facto main event for tonight. I'm sorry to say. That's what happens. You never know what you're going to land on and Be the Booker. I'm telling you. We could have had that backup. Jeremy Rose, $5 super chat, says Penta heel or face, and who would you put as his talking piece? Well, Alex is not coming with him. Alex Abrahantes. He was the one managing the Lucha Bros in AEW. You know who's, as far as I know anyway, you know who's actually available, who used to be in AEW and might be a good person to play that role? Jose the Assistant. Jose the Assistant, who wrestles too. He's in great shape. He can take bumps. But I think Jose the Assistant might be a good choice, right? Jose was with Andrade. Yeah.
I am the Lord.
Shut the fuck up. Fuck that tree. Fuck that tree. That's right, Matt. Vampiro. we're not bringing Vampiro's not coming to WWE. I mean, there is a history there with them. Yes, I watch Lucha Underground, but I don't know. Vampiro in WWE seems like just a match made in hell. I just don't feel like that's probably a good idea. Boots says, imagine Kevin Owens going down to NXT, powerbombing Shawn Michaels on the hardest part of the ring, followed by a package pile driver on the announcer's table. What is wrong with you people? Like, these are old men. Are you trying to kill them? Matt says, how about Katrina from Lucha Underground managing Penta? Okay, so now you're talking. Now I like the way you think. Yes. Carly. Let's bring in Katrina. Right? The former Maxine from WWE. Let's bring her back. I like the way you think. Scott Woodford. And then she could do what she did in Lucha Underground, and everybody Penta beats, she could give them the lick of death. I miss the lick of death. Scott Woodford says Penta versus Dragon Lee at WrestleMania 41. I would hope that Penta could do better than Dragon Lee at WrestleMania 41, the way that Dragon Lee's been booked lately, which is basically not booked at all. And DEH Sire says PW Insider confirmed that it is Penta. Well, there it is. I said, that was my first thought. That seemed to be everybody's first thought. And I'll check right now and see what they're saying. And yes. The belief that they are being told is that it is for Penta. So there you go. Penta debuting on Raw on January 6th. on Netflix. It's a huge spot for him. That's going to be huge, man. I'm excited. It's going to be great. Dario Cueto managing Penta. That would be fantastic. As far as I know, though, he is signed with MLW. I think he's still doing stuff with MLW and was it the Azteca Underground? I love Dario Cueto. Dario Cueto is my favorite all-time authority figure in wrestling. Like, he was perfect on that show. Richie says, your reaction when you found out Rikishi ran over Austin. You want to know my reaction? That was my reaction. Joseph with the $2. Solo, new name for Balor. Pin Balor. So you basically just stole the name that I came up with for him. That's what I call him. You gotta come up with some original material here. Fuck that tree. I've called him Pin Balor on here before. I called him Pin Balor after he lost to Bad Blood. I said Pin Balor is back. NWO Matt. Also, how about package pile driver to Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and all 3 general managers? Yeah, let's just let him go around and just fucking murder everybody. How about that? He can murder all the GMs, right? I mean, hell, you want him to... He could wreak havoc on the women's division, too, while you're at it. Let him give a package pile driver to Candice LeRae. Right? Why not? I will never forget Candice LeRae's sell of the lumbar check that she got. I guess it would have been from Cedric, right? Cedric Alexander on the independent scene many years ago. It still lives rent-free in my head. Jeremy says, is it okay to pile drive Nick Aldis? Yes. Nick Aldis is healed. He tore his bicep earlier this year. He is fully healed from that. And he certainly has kept himself in shape to wrestle when they call on him. Eventually, I think he will wrestle. At least one match. Could he take a pile driver? Sure. But okay, so again, if he keeps attacking all of these people, what's the end game here? Because it just gets ridiculous where it's like, why wouldn't he be fired? You got to cool it on the package pile drivers here. It's like all you people, it's like this pent up package pile driver fetish that people have had now for 10 years. He hasn't been able to use this move. You ever try to hold down a cat's tail? I used to do that sometimes with my cat. I would just take my hand and hold her tail down. And I would wait 10, 15, 20 seconds. And as soon as I move my hand, the tail just goes flopping back and forth. Right? Everyone's been waiting for this package pile driver. Now they just want him to go around pile driving everybody. What do you think this is, AEW? If he wanted to do a pile driver every week, he could just go to AEW and be with his friends. Richie says, did you fell test was buried? Did I fell test? Did I feel test was buried in WWE? Yeah, it felt like it. In late 99, he had a world of momentum on his side, and then all of a sudden, he didn't. Felt like he was buried by somebody who didn't like the fact that he was getting over. Gee, I wonder who that could be. He should have package pile drove Jesse, too. Nah, Jesse ain't going to take that shit from nobody. Any chance of him pile driving Corey Graves? My God. Why would he pile drive Corey Graves? What would be the purpose behind it? Hey, DL Hudson. Thank you for the $9. I still remember Candice LeRae against Adam Cole. Full-on bloodfest. Yeah, there's a lot of WWE fans that if they saw that version of Candice LeRae pre-WWE, they would be shocked. And appalled, probably, but they would be shocked. Jeremy with the 5. He's pile driving everyone because Cody made him insane. Triple H fires him, but he comes back at WrestleMania because Cody gets him rehired. No. Boots says, not everybody, not Lil Nate. He should see the one person that he should pile drive, and you're like, no, not Lil Nate. Lil Nate is the one who counted the winning fall on Saturday. If he was going to pile drive anybody, he's the one that actually makes sense. If Test was Timu Triple H, then Triple H was Timu Shane Douglas. Well, then who's Timu Solomonster? Ask yourself that question. I think Orange Cassidy is. He gets my vote. Anyway, I'm gonna leave you people to your pile drivers tonight. I hope some of you at least, you're home. The wife is in bed waiting for you to come to bed. Give her a pile driver tonight. She'll probably enjoy it. You can get them all out of your system. I'm going to be back with you on Wednesday night. We're going to be talking AEW Dynamite. We're going to be talking... Actually, this episode of Dynamite I'm looking forward to because it's the Holiday Bash episode. We're getting Will Ospreay against Darby Allin for the first time. So that should be fun. So I'm going to be here on Wednesday. I expect you to be here with me. No SmackDown Friday night. It's a tape show anyway. But I'll be working House of Glory on Friday night, so there'll be no live stream. But if you missed episode 892, almost 2 hours, go check it out. A lot of good content in there. We got a lot of content coming up here in these final few weeks of the year. This Sunday is going to be the normal podcast, but it'll also double as the annual prediction show. So we got that coming up. And then, of course, World's End yet to come. I think I'll be live after that. And New Year's Eve. This will be, I think, 4th year in a row, I think. 4th or 5th. That I'll be doing a New Year's Eve stream. So we'll get all dressed up. We'll get the liquor out. And we're going to count down the best matches of 2024 as we ring in the new year. So I hope you guys will join me for all of it. Hit that like button on your way out as well. Be well. Stay safe. Thank you for hanging out with me here. Happy holidays. I hope you enjoy the festive atmosphere here. We'll bring it back again on Wednesday, and I will see you for the AEW Dynamite review. Until then, take care, guys. We got a late super chat here from Devin from NJ. Why are Cody's and KO's key moments not televised? So I will say again what I said earlier and what I said this weekend. They want the social media engagement. Cody is the WWE champion. It is one of the top programs in the company. So they want to use that to drive engagement on all of their social platforms. And that is why they do what they do. Get people talking, try to get people interested, sharing it, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, MySpace, BearShare, Hinge, whatever platform and app you could think of. Blue Sky, well, maybe not Blue Sky, but that's why they do it. All right. All right, Devins. Yeah, so Solo came back for the social media engagement. That's why I came back. That's right. Smart ass.